If you wanna be free, there's only one thing you can do. That is got the control over you. Extract your how Bitcoin can help you.
George asks, over 90% of the hash power is located in China with different pools combined. What is stopping them combining forces? Okay, first of all, let's look at this question. You state that over 90% of the hash power is located in China by combining different pools. The truth is, we don't know that. That is not an established fact. First of all, pools are not the same as mining power. Pools are collections of miners operating together. And just because a pool might be operated out of China doesn't mean that all the miners participating in that pool are operating out of China. They might be somewhere else. One. Two, we don't know where the pools are, and we don't know where the miners are. We can make guesses, but it's impossible to locate precisely where the miners and the pools are. And this is a feature. This is required in order for Bitcoin to remain decentralized and be able to resist attacks, is that it should be difficult to locate miners. There's a number of ways you can operate a mining pool as well as a mining farm as to hide your location. But in any case, let's say they're all located in China. What is stopping them from combining forces? Very simple. Economic interest is stopping them from combining forces, because combining forces in violation of the consensus rules runs the risk of losing an enormous amount of investment in both the hardware and the electricity that they're spending. And maybe in their economic best interest is to continue mining by the rules. So far, that's exactly what's happened. Miners who have attempted to break the rules have lost enormous amounts of money because they've done so. So combining forces in such a way gives very little advantage in terms of what they can do. You might assume that if you have a 51% attack, you can do whatever you want. It's not true. You can't do whatever you want. And as a result, the advantages of doing a 51% attack are not that high. But the risks of participating in such an attack that fails are enormous. So self-interest keeps miners from combining forces to violate the consensus rules. The second question by George is, would it make more sense to have a rule which doesn't allow a block to be added consecutively from an IP address which originates in the same country? No. And part of the reason is that IP addresses can be faked. There is a very good reason why Bitcoin doesn't use IP addresses to validate who the miners are, because you don't use a consensus algorithm that proves your IP address, proof of IP, because that can be faked. Instead, we use a consensus algorithm that's called proof of work, because proof of work cannot be faked. Faking an IP address and pretending to be from a different place or having multiple computers that aren't real that you spin up in a virtual system is called a Sybil attack. And a Sybil attack is when you create lots of fake computers to pretend to have a big vote in a decision, for example. Proof of work specifically solves this. It prevents Sybil attacks. And the way it prevents Sybil attacks is because we don't care what your IP address pretends to be, because IP addresses are not secure identifiers. We care about whether you brought the proof of work, because you can't fake proof of work. Proof of work in itself shows that you have spent the energy. And because we know that energy is not free, that means you have an economic incentive to play by the rules. And that's the only proof that matters. It's very easy to fake an IP address. It's very easy to hide an IP address. It's very easy to reroute an IP address through various forms of VPNs. And so therefore, that's why we don't go by proof of IP and we go by proof of work.